Elijah was a 9th century prophet of the Hebrew Bible whose name has been variously translated as "whose God is the Lord," "my God is the Lord," and "my God is Jehovah." Elijah is considered to be one of the great prophets of the Abrahamic religions because he warned people against forgetting God's commandments and advised the Israelites to repent of their polytheistic ways. The Bible also describes Elijah as a divinely inspired wonder worker and a forerunner of the coming Messiah. It is believed that the prophet Elijah shall return upon to earth prior to the millennial day of the Lord, and many Jews expect Elijah to help restore their nation. The further development of Elijah as the harbinger of the arrival of the Messiah is developed throughout later Jewish and Christian traditions. As a result, Elijah is shared prophet in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam alike. He is a deeply respected figure by the followers of many world religions who see Elijah as an archetype who stands for both justice and hope of restoration. According to the Bible, by the 9th century BCE, the kingdom of Israel, once united under Solomon, divided into northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Omri, king of Israel, continued policy dating from reign of Jeroboam, contrary to religious laws that were intended to reorient religious focus away from Jerusalem, encouraging the building of local temple altars for sacrifices, appointing priests from outside the family of the Levites, and allowing or encouraging temples dedicated to Baal, an important deity. Omri achieved domestic security with the marriage alliance between his son Ahab and Princess Jezebel, a worshipper of Baal and the daughter of the king of Sidon in Phoenicia. These solutions brought security and economic prosperity to Israel for a time, but did not bring peace with the Israelite prophets, who advocated a strict Deuteronomic interpretation of the religious laws. Under Ahab's kingship, tensions escalated. Ahab built a temple for Baal, and his wife Jezebel brought a large intruge of priests, prophets of Baal and Asherah into the country. In this context, Elijah is introduced in 1 Kings 17:1 as Elijah the Tishbite. He warns Ahab that there will be years of drought, so severe that not even dew will form, because Ahab and his queen stand at the end of the line of kings of Israel who are said to have done evil in the sight of the Lord. In Judaism, Elijah is famed as both a wonder worker and a foreteller of the coming Messiah. He first appears in the Hebrew Bible as a figure who challenged the idolatrous ways of King Ahab, who ruled Israel in the first half of the 9th century BCE. Ahab was primarily notable for his rejection of Israelite temple tradition in favor of devotion to Baal, a Mesopotamian fertility god. Ahab's reign was characterized by a period of drought, epidemics, and famines, all presumed to be caused by an aggrieved Yahweh. It is in this context that Elijah emerges, delivering a stern warning to King Ahab and advising him to repent his polytheistic ways. After having delivered the message to the apostate king, Elijah retired to a hiding place by the brook Cherith, beyond the Jordan, where he was fed by ravens. When the brook dried up, God sent him to live with the widow Zarephath, who supported him for 2 years. During this period, the widow's son died, and it is said that he was restored to life by Elijah, as mentioned in 1 Kings 17:2-24. Afterward, Elijah met Obadiah and bade him to go and tell his master that Elijah was there. The king came to meet Elijah and approached him as a troubler of Israel for criticizing his public conversion to the religion of Baal. In response, Elijah proposed that he and the priests of Baal should not make public sacrifices to their respective gods, and based on the perceived reception of these offerings, determine whether Baal or the Israelite God was a true divinity. The contest took place on Mount Carmel, where the Baalite priests were, due to divine intervention, unable to light their sacrificial fires. Elijah, on the other hand, was able to light soaking wet wood at the altar to Yahweh. This miracle convinced those watching the Baal was false and that Yahweh was the only true God. As the gathered crowds toasted the Israelite God's victory, Elijah ordered that the prophets of Baal to be put to death. However, Jezebel, the wife of Ahab and chief proponent of the religion of Baal, became enraged at the fate that had befallen her priest and threatened to have Elijah killed. Elijah then escaped to Beersheba and was invited in the night by an angel who offered him heavenly foods for his flight into the wilderness. Having partaken of the divine provision, he went forward on the 40-day trek to Mount Horeb, a journey that numerically and thematically paralleled Noah's 40 days sojourn in the ark, Moses' 40 years of wandering the desert, and Jesus' 40 days in the wilderness after baptism. Upon reaching the mountain, Elijah was visited by the Lord Yahweh, who significantly appeared not in earthquakes or thunderstorm, but in a still small voice. This teaches the inwardness of God's voice, that belief should not look for God not in the mighty power of nature, but in their own conscience. After his return to human society, Elijah continued to attack and criticize the apostate reigns of Ahab and his later son, particularly the affair of Naboth's vineyard. Elijah stood for social justice and the rights of small landholders against loyal prerogative. Tradition suggests that at this time, he may have been in retirement on Mount Carmel, but he was informed that his ascent to heaven was drawing nigh. So he went down to Gilgal and met his successor Elisha, who he had anointed some years before. Elisha became solemn at the thought of his master leaving him and refused to be parted from him. The two traveled to Bethel and Jericho and crossed the Jordan, where the elder prophet divided the waters of the river. When they arrived in the borders of Gilead, Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Elisha, watching his mentor disappear into the heavens, was able to catch his predecessor's mantle as it fluttered to the ground. In this way, Elisha was delivered a double portion of the older prophet's spirit, as mentioned in 2 Kings 2:9, as he received of the older prophet's mantle alludes to the preference shown to the firstborn son in the division of the father's estate. Based on the belief that Elijah resides in heaven, one of only two biblical figures said to do so, that other being Enoch. Later rabbinic lore gives Elijah the role of interlocutor with God, who sits near God's throne and can tell the sages what God is thinking. It is believed that Prophet Elijah shall return to earth prior to the millennial day of the Lord. The depth of the impression made by Elijah on the mind of the nation of Israel can be judged from the prevailing belief that Elijah would again appear for the relief and restoration of the country. One example of this belief is articulated in Malachi 4:5-6. See, I will send you the prophet Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord comes. He will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, or else I will come and strike the land with a curse. Thanks for watching. If you like to see more content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.